All right. Can everybody see my screen? Can you hear me? Etc., etc., etc. All right, great. Appreciate that, guys. All right, first and foremost, guys, I want to put a link into the chat. This is where you sign up for the giveaway. Here it is. Copy link. Paste. There we go. So this is where you sign up, guys. You click on that. You sign up in about 45 minutes. We're going to go ahead and give away, it's a 25K eval account. In the UK, my brother-in-law is English. He's a big Tottenham fan. He's just starting to get me into soccer. My whole family's from St. Louis. I'm a big St. Louis sports fan, and so we finally got a soccer team there. So I watch it when there's no real sports on. Yes, that's a joke. The thing I like about soccer is again, you get the 45, 50 minutes. You go hard, you get a nice little break, no commercials. I do enjoy that. So it's a nice, under 2 hours. So I can always appreciate that. All right, excellent. How's everybody doing today? Everybody hang in there all right? Okay. All right, we're going to give everyone about one more minute to get here as we finish out the close. That's great, NASDAQ. Always good to see you. Oh, there. We got a nice clickable link there for you. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about the markets today. We're going to get into just sort of the hold on. Let me close out this page I got. It's distracting watching the stream when I'm doing the stream. All right, so let me ask a question. So how did everyone handle today? Let me say yesterday and today. Obviously, we had the Jay Powell, the Jerome Powell testimony yesterday. Seemed to have a little more effect yesterday than today. Boy, as you see here, guys, I'm really surprised at the lack of range today. And, when you watch the markets day after day, usually within about the first 30 to 45 minutes, sometimes sooner, you can pick up on, what you don't always know what kind of day it's going to be in terms of up day or down day or big or low, but, you kind of get a sense of the volatility of the day or the volatility of the volatility, as we like to say. And it was interesting that today didn't feel a little more active, right? I was kind of sitting there. I was watching, especially, one of the best signs of institutional activity is the icebergs and the stops, the big icebergs, the big stop runs. And I apologize, we're doing this on a Wednesday, so I'm actually at home working off my home computer here as opposed to at the office. So I got to wait for my dog to get dropped off from doggy daycare. So if I pulled up Bookmap on this computer, it would crash. So pardon me for not doing that, but that's one of the best signs of institutional activity in the futures market, right? When the big boys are doing a lot of buying, a lot of selling, getting their stops running, getting their iceberg orders, we want institutional participation, right? We don't mind the algos, right? We don't, everyone, we hate the algos, stop us in and out. Well, if you're a scalper, yeah, the algos are probably going to have their way with you, but we want the algos because they're liquidity, right? They're huge market participants. And, for those of us that learned the hard way early in their careers as I did, liquidity is king. Trading liquid options, liquid stocks, liquid, and obviously the ES and the NQ outside of Forex are two of the most widely traded and most liquid instruments out there. So we want those participation, but we also want the institutions, right? Because they're the ones that are really driving the movement in the market. So I just was very surprised in the first hour about the lack of institutional participation, right? We had some icebergs stacking up for a few minutes this morning, looking like a normal day of participation, and we really just didn't see that. In fact, let me pull up here while I'm talking. I don't have my news feed up, but they always say what what our volume was overall today. Yeah, so down about 10% on a 3-month average, right? NASDAQ basically flat. So again, this tells you, okay, it wasn't terrible, but man, when you can get these days that are above the 3-month average, right? Those are the days that can really get some institutional movement. Well, that's a fun headline. Legalized betting on scripted match results in professional wrestling. Yeah, how could that possibly go wrong, right? I'm 40. I watched a lot of wrestling back in the day, right? I was coming up. You had The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin. That was a whole lot of fun. It's not something I pay a whole lot of attention to anymore. But yeah, that's interesting. Well, that's a whole different conversation there. But anyway, so the last couple of days I think are really days that are going to test your patience, right? We had those big whipsawing moves yesterday, right? When Chairman Powell was first talking, he was talking again today. And keep in mind with those guys, it's all about the statements, right? When you hear Jerome Powell or the Yellen or whoever is testifying, usually before the Senate, right? The questions don't really matter, right? Because what are the senators trying to do? They're trying to get their sound bites for re-election and for whatever partisan news channel that they're going to appear on later, right? So it's all about the statements. And as much as I wish the Fed board people would just kind of shut their mouths, they do like to go out on the circuit and yap quite a bit, right? So unfortunately, we have to pay attention to that. And guys, I know this is probably something very basic, but I do want to. I do feel like I need to. Where's the calendar? Is this it? Make sure one of the first things you do. I'm gonna pull it up. Hold on. I'm gonna pull it up here. Each day is look at the economic calendar. Where's the... Don't run out on me. Okay. Well, this isn't perfect, but this'll help, right? This doesn't give the times, but this should be one of the very first things you look at every day, right? What's the data coming out? And understanding the ebbs and flows of the market is very much into what are the markets paying attention to, right? So for most of the first few years of my career, the market moved on earnings reports, right? When big tech sectors were reporting earnings, those would move the markets, or any sort of, the traditional wisdom, right? Well, then we had COVID. What moved the markets during COVID? I mean, after the initial sort of the overreaction to the COVID crash, and going from there, what really moved the markets at that point, right? Well, it was the daily COVID numbers, right? The hospitalizations, the deaths, especially coming out of New York, because New York was a bit of a harbinger. New York and LA were sort of harbingers for the rest of the country, right? In terms of how much our economic sector and what economic sectors were going to be affected. Well, now we're back to inflation, right? We're back to earnings reports is really haven't moved the markets as much, right? They always do to a degree. But now it's PPI, it's CPI, it's factory orders, it's inventories, it's all of those day-to-day things. So we've got to always be cognizant, and obviously with the Fed interest rates, right? This is why every time a Fed speaker talks, the markets move way more than they used to, right? I don't want to say nobody gave a crap, but the markets rarely moved dramatically, and if they did, they quickly corrected when the Fed speakers would talk 5, 6, 7 years ago, right? So it's all about what the Fed is doing, how it's battling inflation, and with news yesterday that we're kind of not at peak interest rates yet, and that there's probably going to be a couple more decent sized moves in that dropped the markets quite a bit, right? So again, that's something that's just that we have to be paying attention to, right? Yeah, Feds are. You know what? That's Bob. That's actually a really good comparison. They are like the Kardashians. Except the Fed first. And listen, if there's one wonderful bipartisan thing that brings both the right and the left together, it's these days. It's how much we don't like the Fed, right? Because one side thinks they're doing too much, the other side thinks they're not doing enough, and it is a fine line they have to walk. So I do sympathize with that, but at the same time, yeah, they're like the Kardashians. They're just sort of there, but to anyone with a brain, they're generally useless, right? And for us as day traders, this is something that is really fun, guys. As you get into trading, right, and as the people around you, get into trading, or know that you get into trading, right? What are they always asking you? Oh, how do the markets go today, right? When I was at about 4 years ago, I was serving on the pastoral council at my local church, and when we were kind of introducing ourselves, hey, what do you do this? What do you do that? And so they would the other people on the council would always, oh, how the markets went great today. I bet you made a lot of money, right? They just assumed if we had an evening meeting and it was in the news that the markets were down 2%, right? The Dow was down 3,000 points. Like, people would approach me like I was like mourning at a funeral. I'd be like, tough day today, huh? And there's some days I'd be like, no, I did great today. Had big momentum to the downside, caught a couple of waves. Like, normal people, the people that aren't trading degenerates like all of us here, and I include myself in that in that conversation, they don't understand. Markets go up good, markets go down bad, right? And so it's a fun thing as traders to pay attention to that and to understand how it affects the markets, right? It is all fear driven, but you know what? Fear drives the markets. Fear and greed drive the markets. Those are the two biggest emotions day to day that drive the markets. So for us as individual retail traders, what do we want? We just want movement, right? Unless you're a credit seller in options, right? We want movement. Everybody wants movement. That's what we want. So again, that's something that Bob, that's true. That's true. Anyway, before we open up the floor to about a half hour or so of questions, I want to specifically, I want to follow up on a point I was making yesterday, and I was talking about it in the room today. Had a little discussion back and forth with I just and if any of this came off. It's why I'm not a huge fan of typing and texting. My girlfriend sometimes gets mad at me because I don't text her enough, and I'm just I'm a very emotional guy and passionate guy, and emotions don't always come through in text or typing, right? So I have a lot of respect for the great writers. One of my all-time favorite writers is a guy named Pat Conroy, who's a novelist. He's written fiction and nonfiction. And just those people that have a way with words, and I've written a lot over the years of various blogs and things that I've done. I don't have that skill. So if anything ever comes off like a certain tone or something, just ask me, right? But the main point I wanted was trying to make before I kind of got a little sidetracked is, goal number one is to get a funded account, right? And I when I talk in the Blue Sky Discord channel, I'm talking to Blue Sky clients, right? Current clients, potential clients, people who are, maybe just getting up a few $100 so they know they've got a little bit of a cushion to start working towards a funded account, right? So everything I say is in that context, right? It's one of the first rules of public speaking, right? Which I've done hundreds of hours over the years, is know your audience, know who's there, know what their goals are, know what drives them, and so I always try to take that approach, and I just don't want anybody to lose sight of what is the goal. I don't mean a goal, the goal. And I'm going to talk with Josh when this is done, and we're going to set up maybe an evening webinar one time, and I'm going to do my goal setting talk for you guys because I think it's that important. And I just dug up the slides from my summit a couple of weeks ago, so I updated them. So we're going to do that at some point. But the goal is not to get funded. That's part of the goal, right? You need to get funded in order to make a living trading, but your goal is to make a living trading. That's why we're all here. Let me poll the audience right now. Is there anybody who's not here to make a living, right? Because this isn't, if I'm doing an options event, guys, and I've done a lot of those over the years, right? If I'm talking to an options audience, not everybody is trying to make a living trading. Some people are managing their retirement accounts. Some people are just trying to trade maybe an hour a day on their lunch break, open new positions, close other ones, just trying to make a couple grand more per month, little supplemental income. But when I'm talking to futures day traders, guys, I just assume, and somebody can feel free to correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I just assume everyone's here to do this for a living, right? We want to, and I'm not getting into numerical goals or dollar goals. That's not the point, right? But it's to have a certain lifestyle, whatever that lifestyle may be. You want to be the guy with the that flies on the private jet. Hey, more power to you. You just want somebody to be able to pay cash for a car, or maybe 10 years from now be able to pass, when housing prices have finally come down like 1%, to pay cash for a house, right? If we want to do this for a living, right? So there's certain steps that we're we're working towards with that. So I just don't want any, like I said, I wish, and this was not me being snarky or anything like that, I wish that I was trading in an account that had the type of rules of an eval account when I first started. Guys, I lost $40,000 my first year of trading in a 60K account. That was my life savings, right? That was every dime that I made and saved, and years of I didn't stop eating ramen noodles when I graduated college, right? I kept doing it for many years because I wanted to save money, and then in all those years of working 2, sometimes 3 jobs in the public sector, not making a whole lot of money, and I blew 7 years of savings in like 4 months. Right? So anybody who's experiencing angst with their account or not, like I've been there. I've probably been worse. Okay? So I've walked this path, and I just don't want anybody to lose sight of the goal, right? The goal, the with a capital THE. Okay? So anything that I talk about in the room is in service of that goal. And anything in your trading life, if you're assuming that your goal is to trade for a living, and not have to do anything else, everything that you do in your trading career and in your day-to-day trading life should be in service of that goal. Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. It's to a degree, right? We're here to make money. If you're not here to make money, guys, log off, because that's what I'm here to try to help you how to do. That's why you've signed up with Blue Sky, or you're going to, right? You're here to get access to money, to make more money, right? That's it. So we're all here to make money, but as I like to say, and you guys have heard me say this in here before, process over profits. Day after day, focusing on a winning process, a process with strategies with an edge, having a mental edge, all of that kind of stuff, that's vital. That's stuff that has to be done. It's not optional, right? So I want to make sure we're all on the same page there, and anything that I say in the room is in service of helping you towards those goals. But like I said, we'll put together a big maybe an evening event. Maybe we'll do something, because I know everyone's kind of burnt out at 4 o'clock. I sometimes am as well. So maybe we'll do a 7 or 8 o'clock evening event in the next week or two, and we'll do a big goal setting thing. So these are the things. It's about, okay, let me take you back a little bit. One of when I was working for TradeStation, my boss she taught me. She was one of the people that taught me how to trade. She was one of 2 people that I consider a mentor in the business. And I got you, Naz. I just, for somebody that maybe came in a couple seconds ago, I want to make sure they understand the context of what you're saying. But no, you and I are on the same page there, 100%. But anyway, when I sat down to design courses and do my live trading rooms and all the stuff that we think that you guys need as traders, as prospective traders, whether it helps you or not, and that's a whole separate conversation. I remember what she said to me. She said, every piece of content you design needs to, if you could go back in time and give that to yourself in that first year where you were getting your ass beat, would it help that guy? Right? That's the person you should be trying to help, because you're like a lot of people, right? Retail trader coming in with no formal experience, who got kicked in the teeth. Well, probably kicked somewhere else a couple of times as well, but we don't need to get into that. That's very painful. But anyway, so when I do certain events, right, because everybody wants the same thing, right? Every beginning trader's like, well, just give me the strategy. Give me one of your strategies, Matt. That's all I need. Give me that strategy. If it's winning strategy, I'm a millionaire, right? I'm a millionaire in an hour because I'm going to work that strategy tomorrow, okay? And that's not how it works. I wish it was, right? It would have saved me a lot of nights and a lot of anger and a lot of stress. But that's just not how it works. Yes, you have to have winning strategies. You have to have strategies with an edge. That is not debatable. But you also have to have the ability to trade those strategies. You've got to. I mean, how many times have we been in a winning trade and we stopped out of it too quickly, right? Or one big problem for me when I first started having success, I was taking profits way too early, right? I'd be sitting there in a well, I'll use a futures equivalent example, right? We're right at near 4,000 in the ES. Let's say I go long at 4,000. I wouldn't. That's not an area I would trade. I'd like to get a little divergence one way or the other from there. But just for example, let's say I see a trade with an entry at 4,000 and my profit goal is 4,025, right? And it goes from 4,000 up to 4,010 and then starts retracing. I'm probably going to stop profit at like 4,005 and say, oh, I made $70. That's wonderful. And then the thing runs to 40, right? And if I just left that trailer on, instead of making $70, I would have made 400 or 300, whatever the case may be, right? That's something that we as traders need the ability to process, right? And guys, you are in a tough situation, right? Because a lot of you, and probably not all of you, but a lot of you are attempting to become successful day traders before you've ever become a successful swing trader, right? I used to make, and I've changed my opinion on this over the years, right? Because that's what intelligent people do. They change their opinions when they're presented with new evidence. Because I've met a lot of people that have become successful futures day traders without doing the swing trading side. But I found it very helpful to be a successful swing trader first, because my old saying was, if you can't make decisions on a 2 to 3 day time frame, how are you going to make them on a 2 to 3 minute time frame, right? So again, all right, so guys, what I'm going to do for about the next 25-30 minutes, we're going to open it up for questions. Probably right about quarter to 5 on the East Coast. We'll go ahead and spin the wheel o names and get us a winner for the 25K account. But other than that, guys, the floor is open. The floor is yours. So any questions that you have, Frenzy, I appreciate that. I'm just stubborn enough to have kept going. And actually, if I was a less prideful person, I would have gone back to my old bosses and begged for my jobs. I was just stubborn enough and just prideful enough to keep going. But again, I shouldn't have lost that much. The first 10 grand should have been enough, right? So I'm here. I'm doing pretty well for myself, but. Okay, so let me, and then guys, chat's moving a little slower today, so I shouldn't miss anything. If I do, please ask it again. Do you think a combined account is the same as a funded account, or is the same as a personal? EY, I'm not quite understanding the question. I don't know what you mean by combined account is the same as a funded account. So if you could please rephrase that, I'd be happy to answer that. What's your direction on swing trading for BluSky? Well, they don't really offer that. For futures, guys, in futures, I don't recommend retail traders do swing trading and hold a lot of stuff overnight, unless you're talking about 1 or 2 micros, where even if you wake up and the markets are down 5%, you're out a few $100 as opposed to a few thousand. I don't trade much in the after hours, so why I do these events, and why my dog. In a few minutes, my dog's going to get dropped off. After he rests, I'm going to take him for a walk, and then he's pretty much conked out for the night, and then I make dinner, right? So my edge is my ability to walk away at the end of the day. I've got about an hour's worth of stuff to do tonight, get some journaling done, get a few things that I need to get ready for the next day. But guys, I consider this a 9-to-5 job, right? I spend a few hours outside the markets every week or two, checking out new indicators or attending even webinars by this, right? Like this, I can learn from other traders all the time. You never stop learning in this business. That's how you lose your edge. But I don't consider, I'm not one of those obsessed people that spends 100 hours a week trading or obsessing about the markets. I just, which is unusual for me, because I do tend to get very, very focus driven on those kinds of things. But there's the burnout rate in this business, guys, both the trading and the trading education business, is so high. It's so high, even among successful people. So it's not worth it to me to go that far, even if it would make me a little extra money. So, all right, so let me catch up here. How do you acclimate to the rollover? Do you trade the rollover? Are you out of the market during this period of time? That's actually a great question. So for me in the ES and the NQ, the instant the next contract is, so if we're doing the March contracts now, the instant the volume of the March contracts drops below what would be the June contracts, I'm switching to June, right? Yes, there's always a week where it's kind of up and down, right? Especially with some of the indicators, because in most cases you got to pick one or the other. But there's really only 1 or 2 days where those things are not trading, particularly in lockstep. But probably, let me check the calendar. So the third Friday this month is next. It's next Friday. It's St. Patty's Day. So probably by Tuesday of next week, I'll switch over. Okay, let me catch up here. Do you feel like you treat all of those the same? Like 95% of my trading, guys, is in my personal brokerage account. I keep, I've got an eval account, a couple actually, that I'm testing strategies in, and every day I keep telling myself, make sure you trade that. And there's more days off than I just, because the opportunity cost to me is the opportunity cost of not trading my personal account can be I'm not saying this is how much I average, but it could be $3,000, right? So I could trade my eval account and okay, I'm closer to getting funded or this or that, and I miss out on $2-3 grand on my personal account. At some point, that opportunity cost will, maybe I'll hit I hit 3 or 4 cold streaks every year where there's just a couple day period where I just don't feel like I have a great handle on things, and maybe I lose a little bit of my mental edge. Usually I take a long weekend, then maybe I'll move over at this point, but yeah. Just received word on getting funded. Hey, congratulations, Crip. Good job, man. Yeah, I mean, listen, when I first got successful and I first was starting the education stuff, I used to post P&L a lot. And, people would either, get snarky about it, or they'd claim this or that is photoshopped, or it's not worth it to me. I got a message. You're going to listen to it or you're not, right? I mean, that's it. People can feel free to listen or not listen. It doesn't affect me. I'm going to go make money tomorrow, right? I know this sounds like kind of crappy to say, and, you only have to take my word for it, and we don't know each other, but I really am one of the few people in this business, guys, that makes more way more in trading than in education. I won't tell you how much I made in trading last month, but I can tell you how much I made in education. I made about $700, right? Just running my summit and like a few things here and elsewhere. That's it, right? That's the education goes into my end of the year vacation, my October beach trip that I take every year. So I paid for a couple nights of the Airbnb, right? Combine a funded account to have rules that you not have in a personal account. How do you decide if it's the rules or your strategy? That's a great question. So how do I know if it's my rules or my strategy? Well, first of all, every strategy that I trade, and actually I'm doing this right now in my eval accounts, goes through a 3-phase strategy from idea generation to live money, right? And it can be sometimes a 4 to 6 month process. Sometimes it's 2 months. But I back test a strategy, both, if there's the ability to back test it in a programming sense, I do. If there's not, I just go back and look at as much data as I can get my hands on, or as I like to call it, real-time test it, which is at the end of the day, go back and look and say, hey, this setup happened 3 times. It was profitable 3 times. That's great. Let me mark that down. Then I paper trade it, and I adjust my rules, and then I slowly move into live trading, guys, right? And I'll have a set of rules. Now, here's the thing. If I have a set of rules, I got to follow them. So if I'm following my rules and I'm losing money in this strategy, the strategy isn't good, right? It's not worth it. And guys, there are probably 70% of the strategies that I've tried and I've put in this system over the years get abandoned at some point. That's it. They're just not where I need them to be. But the ones that make it through can be ones that make me money for a very, very long time. Okay, so the rules and the strategy are the same time. What's a strategy? A strategy is just a set of rules, right? Here's a setup. Here's your entry. Here's your exit. Right? If you don't have, in day trading, some of that can get a little blurred, right? But at the same time, if you're a beginning trader, if you're somebody who has yet to have any sort of consistent profits, you have to follow your rules. You have to have rules-based trading, right? It's one of the first things I work at with my mentorship clients, building out a rules-based setup. If you're following the rules and you're losing money, well, guess what? The rules are the problem, and now we can go back and look. If you have a set of rules and you don't follow your rules, you have no idea what the problem is. It may be the rules and the strategy. It may not be. Right? I hope that answers the question. Sometimes I get off on some real good tangents. If I had only one variable to trade, what would it be? Now, are you saying like one indicator? Probably the one you see there on the screen, VWAP. VWAP is something that I'm not saying every strategy that I do is based directly off VWAP, but I always know where things are in relation to VWAP. Any tips for trading Eurex futures? I do not personally trade Eurex futures. I stay to the big 4, right? So I just saw combine means, somebody told me, means the eval part or the prop account. Again, I've never traded that before. I've traded my own money for 10 years or almost 10 years now. So that's pretty much what I've always done, which is why, I mean, listen, I can sit here and tell you how to be successful and what's been successful for me. But no, I mean, I don't have a ton of experience trading somebody else's money. So that is something that I'm learning right alongside you guys, right? There's a very real possibility at the end of the year I haven't changed anything that I'm doing. and I'm still using my eval accounts for, for testing and all of that. Or there's a very real possibility, but, within a few months, I say, you know what? It's a lot more efficient for me to just get a couple of funded accounts and do all my trading there and move it all over to BluSky. I don't know yet, right? It's not a path I've spent a lot of time on. But I could easily see it going either way over the course of the next few months. I'll keep you guys posted. All right. So many people are focused on other people's P&L. But yeah. I mean, listen, Taurus, people think I'm BSing when I say this. I wish every one of my clients and or just, you guys in here that are, I wish all of you guys to make more money in trading than I do, right? I'm doing great. I'm doing fine. I'm very comfortable, right? Now, I definitely want to maintain this success for another decade or more, right? So I can retire early and I can enjoy life while I still have some life to life to live, right? But at the same time, I'd love to spend my last 30, 35 years on this earth very rarely working, right? So, good question. Are you able to talk on an A+ setup how you use the TTM Squeeze? And that's this little thing down here on the screen. This is the TTM Squeeze down here. I will tell you this. I do not use the TTM Squeeze to enter trades. I use it to keep me out of trades, right? So, for example, let's say in theory here, this should be triggering a potential short. Right. This is why I don't use a TTM. It's somewhat of a leading indicator, a lagging indicator, right? So in theory, this is triggering a short on this bar, right? Now that would have eventually been successful, but it's going to take you for a ride for about a half hour first, right? But let's say I'm looking at a long trade here, and I see this is firing off short. I'm probably going to stay out of that trade unless there's about 3 or 4 other things that I absolutely love, right? And yeah, this would have worked a little bit as a long trade, a few points, but nothing, Again, so I use this down here as what I call a C or C. That's what I call them when I'm teaching them. Okay, C, pardon my bad handwriting on this. A C or C, which is a confirmation or a cancellation, right? So either here's my trade idea based on a setup. Here's my setup. Okay, am I confirming this setup or am I canceling this setup based on the other? Let's say there's a great candlestick setup that I like here, right? That triggers along, right? So, like for example, this isn't an engulfing candle, but let's pretend the real bodies were engulfed here, right? Just for pretend, like we're on Sesame Street, and I'm thinking, wow, that's a great idea for a long. Well, I've got this down here, and let's say the ADD, which is the advanced decline difference in the New York Stock Exchange, I don't know that it was, but let's just say it's negative 1,000. Okay, so close to an extreme negative reading. Right there, this is going to tell me no trade. This is going to tell me no trade, so I'm no trade, right? Guys, I don't use a ton of fancy indicators. I don't, and I'm sure I could really buckle down and find that extra 5% edge here or there. But at the same time, I use very simple setups, very simple, indicators. I don't get very technical with a lot of things. And then I'm just keeping my eye on the overall markets. What are, I saw somebody bring up in the Discord, hey, Apple's bottoming out here or whatever they said about Apple. Hey, that's great. Apple can be a leading indicator sometimes, right? Because it's so heavily influences the SPY, the NQ, all that good stuff. So yeah, so I keep it very simple. But yeah, the short answer to your question is a TTM Squeeze is not a get into a trade. It's to keep me out of a potential trade. What's your underlying theory behind using VWAP? You know what? I'm gonna direct you to. Let me see. What was it called? There's a podcast. I'm not even sure if it's on anymore. Pardon me, guys. I'm gonna actually. You can't see my phone, but I'm going to pull this up, see if it's still on my phone. There's an episode of an old trading podcast that I want to direct you to called Chat with Traders. Is it still on? Yes, it is. And it really got kind of the same, and it looks like it's even gone into a different host. There's like 250 episodes of it now, but if you go back to episode number 11, way, way, way back, many years ago, I want to say it's episode 11. Yes, episode 11, March 11th, 2015. There's a gentleman I learned a lot from, and I actually almost went into business with him. His name is Zach Hurwitz. He runs a VWAP based website. But anyway, it's a great conversation with him. So again, Chat with Traders, episode 11, back from 2015. And he talks all about the mechanics of VWAP and everything that that goes into it with him. Well, I appreciate the thumbs up there, Torres. Rules-based trading, where does the discretion come in? I don't recommend having any discretion when you're first starting. If you're losing and you're following your rules, the rules are the problem, right? Now, do I take some liberties here or there? Sure. Okay, but that's let's just speak from a futures perspective. I'm closing in on 4 years of trading futures full time, right? So this is close to 1,000 days of experience that I have now, right? So actually more than that, but that's my experience that can inform some of those discretions. But I don't recommend any discretion when you first start. Any discretion needs to be on the upside, right? Like, I was planning on taking 15 points of profit here. Instead, I'm going to take half off at 15, and I'm going to let the rest ride. I'm going to stop it, break even. That's how I do most of my trades. I don't usually scale in, occasionally, but let's just say I'm always in here, right? So let's say going up here, I'm going to put get in my position at VWAP. Right? I'm not saying I do that, but let's just say I did. And I'm playing for a move up here, right? Probably going to take half my position off at my first target. As soon as I take some off for profit, I risk out of the trade, which means I set my stop right at my entry, actually usually a point above my entry just to avoid any kind of slippage, right? So at that moment, it's a stress-free trade, or at least as relative as it can be, right? There's no such thing. But at that moment, get half my position off or a third of my position off. Usually it's a half. And boom, risk out on the other half. All right, now let's just see how far this son of a gun can run, right? And then, I'll take off. Usually I scale out first half, and then let's say another quarter up here, another quarter up here, right? I may leave, especially if I'm trading micros, I may leave a single micro on for the rest of the day if it keeps running, right? But the instant that first little bit comes off for profit, I'm risk out of the trade. All right, keep them coming, guys. Question. I'll take about 3 more questions, and then we'll move over to the giveaway. Yeah, no worries. I appreciate the questions. Good questions today. ESNQ. Here, let me just put this in the chat. ESNQ, CL, and GC. About 99% of my trades covered there. I occasionally will mess around with the Russell. I tried to get into soybeans for a while just because one of my buddies told me you got a metal, you got a commodity, you got oil, you got to get into some grains. I never really, I will at some point, but as long as I'm cranking out, when I'm cranking out, there's no reason to change right now. Are there better times than not to trade the instrument? So I actually went back and looked because somebody asked me this a couple of sessions ago. About 72% of my trades happen before lunch. My lunch, so we're talking like about 1 o'clock Eastern time. So I just don't trade the afternoon that much. So for me, that's just, again, you've got the economic data pumping out. You've got all this overnight stuff that needs to be rectified. Every major support or resistance area that was broken in the Globex session typically will either be needs to be retested and or confirmed, right? So those are the things that I tend to look at as far as what times. If you could pick one thing that you could have done better today, what would it be and why? I won't, today I didn't do a ton today just because the Powell thing yesterday so I only made a couple of trades today. I think it was like plus 170. Not a bad day, not a great day. I felt like I lost my focus a little bit. So as far as I will say this week, I don't feel I've been as focused as I could be. That's something. Listen, guys, we all have hangups here or there, right? I was diagnosed ADHD as a kid, right? I was bouncing around all the time like crazy, and sometimes that still continues. I could probably go get diagnosed again and get some sort of medication. I don't want anything to take me off my game. So I have mental exercises I do that keep me focused. I do a lot of secular-based meditation, right? So my focus ebbs and flows a little bit. Most of the time, it's pretty good. It's one of the reasons I don't trade the afternoons, right? When I zone into something for about 3.5 hours, I'm pretty mentally tired after that. So that's probably answer your question. But I made one particularly dumb trade yesterday. I was just telling you guys about looking at the calendar. Or was it yesterday? No, it was Monday. I'm sorry, it was Monday. There was factory orders, I think, came out at 9 o'clock Central, and I didn't look at that, and it popped me out of a trade. I was half size in it at that point, but still, I was pretty upset at not seeing that. I don't know that I would have done anything differently, but things like that shouldn't ever catch me off guard, and that one did. So, but that's a good question. If you ever go to an event with somebody in the education space like me, and they're not going to tell you things they still do wrong to this day, don't listen to them. I have no experience with any company other than Blue Sky, so I really can't answer your question. I will just say, guys, I've been around in this business for several years, right? I was a teacher and a coach before I even got into trading, so it was a very natural transition to do the education side of this. And I've had times in my career where I was doing 40 hours a week of education when I've worked for other companies, and the more money I made in trading, the more it made sense to do. I probably about 75% of my work time is trading, and 25% is on the education side, and that has been inverted at times in my career, right? Sorry, guys, I was just looking outside. Like I said, my dog's getting dropped off from doggy daycare, so you're gonna hear some wild barking if and when he shows up. Sometimes he doesn't show up till after 4 o'clock, but. I can, but that's how you get along great with the Blue Sky guys. They're traders, right? You don't see that at a lot of these other places. The only reason I learned about funded trader companies, guys, I had clients asking me about them. I had the money that I wanted to trade. What do I need that for, right? Plus, I know a lot of people want to go in the Discord and bitch about the rules, guys. Like I said, I wish I had those rules when I first started. Losing $1,000 on a single trade in a 50K account, that's unacceptable to me. You should never, I can count on one hand the number of, now I trade a little bigger size, I'll tend to be 20 to 25 micros, sometimes a little more. But the number of $1,000 or more, I can count on one hand the number of trades I've lost that much money on this year. When I have bad days, it's usually death by 1,000 paper cuts, right? I'll lose 5. Like I had a day like this a couple weeks ago. I lost 5 of 6 trades, right? But I only lost $900 total. So that's a good. I followed my rules. The market just didn't crack in my direction. So I consider that a good day. I kept my risk under control. Didn't blow anything out. Good to go. So, yeah, it's from an education standpoint, I love those rules, Yeah, focus is... I highly recommend, I don't even know if it's in print anymore. I got into meditation many years ago, or mindfulness, whatever you want to call it. There's a great courses, the great courses. I don't know if it's on their past or whatever they do now. I don't really have a lot of time for that. But it was on mindfulness. Mark Musa, I believe, was the name of the guy. I don't know if he was PhD or whatever, who did the course, right? It was old DVD course, right? It was like 10, 11 years ago. But I highly recommend anything in that space. It really helps to clear your mind. I can't always get it in before the market. I try to just get a 15-minute session in before the market. I can't do it most days, but I'll get a good 30-minute session in later tonight. And again, for somebody with ADD, 30 minutes where you're not doing anything feels like hours, right? Feels like days. Oh, no, you're never going to, listen, in this business, you're never going to not have, you may have an error-free day or two. You're never going to have an error-free week or error-free month. Sometimes you just fat finger into a trade, right? Like I'm hovering over that buy button and, I sneeze or something. Actually, that happened to me a few weeks ago. I sneezed my way into a trade. Thankfully, I meant to get in anyway. It would have triggered a couple seconds later, but yeah. Yeah, anything you need to do, guys. Yeah, well, doggy daycare. Well, yeah. Yeah, he's a handful, so he's got to go out and burn some energy 3 times a week. He just turned my dog just turned 7, and he's still a maniac most of the time. So, but he'll get back after this. I'll take him for a walk. He'll sleep. He'll be out at 5 o'clock. I won't hear from him for the rest of the night. I'll feed him at 6, and that'll be about it. Yeah, here's the thing. I get that question a lot, right? Have you done the math on the dollars you spend playing 25 micros instead of 3 minis? I respect that people want to have, cut down on your commissions, right? But if commissions are the difference between being slightly profitable and very profitable, you really kind of got to reevaluate your settings, right? And it's not, see, if I'm doing, let's say 25 micros, I'm going to probably go out in 3 or 4 lots, sometimes 5, right? So the extra money I make on those trailers, right? That last 5 that may make that extra 10, 15, 20 points is going to cancel out anything that I save. I would save by trading minis, right? Now, futures are as retail traders, futures are pretty much infinitely scalable, right? And I've been increasing my size every 6 months since I started. So in 6 months from now, would I potentially go to 3 or 4 minis? That's very possible. I just like the ability to scale out in 4 or 5 tranches if I want to, right? Hold on, guys. FedEx is at my door. All right, sorry about that, guys. I heard talking on my front porch. I was like, who the hell is out there? But, yep, just FedEx. All right, so, guys, I'm going to take one more question. To enter for the giveaway, there's a link in the chat. Scroll up, and you put in your name. I'm going to give everyone 2 minutes to make sure they're in on that. And then we will spin the real names. Or Josh already gave me the names. That's all right. I can add a couple people if you get in. Wheel O names. Okay. Okay, I'll add you at the bottom, Mr. DA here. Oh, not DA. There you go. All right, guys, we are going to spin the wheel. This is for a 25K account, eval account with our friends at Blue Sky. So Josh will be in contact with you if you win. Yeah, this is a great free tool. I use this all the time. All right, guys, let us spin the wheel O names. Scott Martin, you are the winner. Congratulations, my friend. So again, Josh will be reaching out to you, I believe, via Discord and or email. If you don't hear from him, reach out to him in Discord and just let him know you won. And we will go from there. All right, so like I said, guys, stay tuned. Yeah, congrats there, Scott. stay tuned. The next event we do will be I'll get with Scott, and we'll find a time to do our I'll do my goal setting webinar. So it's a little more of I take questions during that, but it's a little more of a structured setup. So I'll take one more question if anyone has one more, since we're about 10 minutes for the hour. Okay. I kind of got you out of question mode. That's my fault. Okay, my friends, I appreciate you showing up and showing out. Thanks for the great questions. Probably the best questions we've had in these events, and we've had some good ones. All right, everyone, have a great rest of your day. Exciting vacations planned. Well, I have in about 3 weeks, I told you both my parents are from the St. Louis area, so we're big St. Louis sports fans, so it's kind of a family tradition. We all go down to St. Louis for opening day for the Cardinals. Well, actually, my parents are down at spring training right now. So they're down there right now, and I'll meet them in St. Louis in a couple of weeks. But next big trip, I don't know yet. Like I said, usually go to Hilton Head in October. I'll do something with my girlfriend this summer. I got to get with her. She's on a more traditional. She actually has a 3-day-a-week commute into Chicago. It's about a 45-minute drive. So, and she has more of a traditional job. So I work around her schedule. How would you develop your trading in the future? I just got to keep, guys, it's like, once you get that sword, it needs to be sharpened every now and then, right? So just keep evaluating, keep journaling, keep always looking for your edge. So no problem, Bob. I appreciate your guys' time. I look forward to seeing you at the Discord channel. Again, guys, I'm not here to shill for anything that I'm doing, but I do have some various programs, groups of one-on-one coaching, or I have a mentorship program, although that's pretty expensive, but it's basically puts me in your hip pocket for about 6 months. So if you're interested in any of that, reach out to me on Discord. Just Trader Matt. Feel free to direct message me, and I can give you some information on that. Other than that, I hope everyone has a great rest of your day, and I will see you here tomorrow.